here in the studio Kunle Olubiyo, who is president of the Nigeria Consumer Protection Network. He was a member Presidential Committee on Review of Electricity Tariff in Nigeria 2020 and member National Technical Investigation Panel on Power System Collapses, System Stability and Reliability. Kunle, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Yeah.
Claire.
Because I trust you will come down to our level because we are our own people.
I've had equilibrium of darkness, synchronization. We need all this drama to go to the chief for us to have
electricity. So you will come down to our own level. And I'm wondering also that between August last year, according to the data we have, and December 2023, we had as many as between 8 and 11,
officially recorded system collapses.
So
no, I'm speaking. I have the floor, Dr.
So
let me speak. Let me speak to that. As a young lad, I know we have retired that kind of stereotype, grammar. They say low hydro. The professionals that because it was because of frustration from lack of electricity that made people like us to be interested in what is happening with the power sector. Nigerians now should appreciate, and we are equally creating some younger generation of Nigerians to show interest in the power sector, because sometimes when I post issues to people on power sector, I even have to send data to them to read. They say, oh guys, this morning, say, so that's the problem we have. I haven't come to that. I've had equilibrium of darkness, synchronization of darkness. Yesterday was Valentine, and it was Valentine of darkness. System collapse is not happening now because there will be availability of power on the grid, but the transmission company of Nigeria have been able to manage it because they use frequency relays, knock off Ikeja up, knock off major consumers of electricity that are industrial, that are bulk users of electricity, that they are being on grid, supposed to translate to job creation, wealth creation, and social stability. Because when people's energy, the used energy are constructively engaged, their mind will be taken away from devices. So we are stabilizing, the stability we are having is because there will be availability of power, but you knock off supply.
Are we really having stability?
No, what I'm saying relatively is that if you see that there are challenges, you quickly deploy if there's a power swing, like I said, you quickly deploy the frequency relay to knock off some major supplies and stabilize the grid. Coming to that, we are running a Bole Kaja grid. There was a time I had event I'm from Kabata in Kogi. I had event in burial event in Kaba, and somebody was offering me a Bole Kaja to transport my guests from here. I know Bole Kaja, is it that it breaks down in Lokoja? Is it that it breaks down in Obajana? Even when you have kidnappers, you need a vehicle that is machine that can move it around with high speed.
I was going to ask
so
you to translate that budget.
What Bole Kaja grid now is that we are running 19th century grid in the 21st century. Let's face this fact. One, like he has said, just like what we have in the NNPC, in 1993, when there was June 12 crisis and the refineries were shut down for the first time, and it didn't work, Kokoria and others didn't work for 6 months. By the time we tried to bring up the machines, the bearing have not been oiled for 6 months. The machines supposed to work continuously without a stop. So by the time you shut them down, no oiling, no this thing, it's difficult to bring them back. And now between 1993 to date, the number of recruitment that have been done under NNPC that the refineries have not been working, I will say without apology that we employed not less than 2,000 to 3,000 staff in the NNPC that don't have refinery. Now, we're still talking about retirement benefits. We're talking of allowances where you have 5,000 people recruited without a functional office. They just go there, play Ludo and what have you. So what we have in the power sector is quite appalling. I recall that with my interaction with the immediate past administration, the highest commitment and volume of resources that have been put, foreign loan, you ask for it, President Buhari will approve. So the issue is not the resources. You privatize generation. You privatize distribution. We have some interest group where the transmission is left as a cash cow. If you need to pull out funds, if you need to put constituency projects, if you need to put budget under this, you put in that transmission, because the business model of public sector managed enterprise is not about profit making or efficiency.
So are you putting the...
I'm putting the blame...
Yes, are you putting the challenge squarely at the doorsteps
mismatch
of TCN?
No, what I'm saying is that federal government has the right to set policy direction and provide leadership. If we don't do the surgical here, Asiwaju will demonstrate all the intention and we'll still go back in vicious circle. Let me come to it. For example, now, I was a member of the Technical Investigative Panel on Power System Collapses. In 2013, there was a fault with a breaker in Benin. If you have equipment that was manufactured in 1958, like for example, Engineer J knows that for some distribution injection substation, the grid is not automated. You go to a distribution. I have privileges of entering distribution injection substation. Transmission Company of Nigeria, from the radiation of electricity from 33 kV feeders to the injection substations. They're supposed to be like an interface technology that will monitor. Now we still use phone to call, drop load. There are great indiscipline, even at the distribution injection substation. A substation may be nominated certain amount of energy to peak. Maybe there are demands, they exceed. In that manner, now if you have a transmission grid, most of the equipment, okay, is it that Nigeria don't have money to procure skidder? I was in the meeting in 2013, the TCA headquarters. We've been talking about skidder since 2013. Why has it been difficult for us to have an effective skidder? Most of the equipment we have in place, whether we like it or not, defective system protective devices are different layers. Take for example, there was a fire incident in Apple transmission substation. How much will it cost federal government to buy a thunder light arrestor? Thunder light arrestor is like the arrow you have on top of a substation. When there's a thunder lightning, it will come as a safety valve. So basically, our equipments are obsolete. It's not that we are not getting the resources. I can vote for Engineer J not because he's there, of his pedigree, because I know a lot of jobs he has been doing as a market operator. You want to take some decision, there'll be political interferences.
Sorry, I know you've talked a lot, and I know Victor wants to come in, but you've talked about infrastructure, obsolence
of infrastructure.
Are you also ruling out what Engineer J and Engineer Mohammed Kabiru also talked about, the supply side? Yes, the supply side, you know, the gas supply side.
Okay, if everybody is going from Abuja to Lagos on a one-way single-lane traffic, with the volume of vehicle we have now, you know what it means. Our major concern is that the radial system, the transmission line that is carrying a load, the load for a wheelbarrow or a small car, you cannot put the load of a trailer, artisanal vehicle or a high-capacity vehicle on a wheelbarrow. Like I've said, we need to invest on super grid. If you have a monolithic grid, for example, as he's talking about, he's talking about system planning, system coordination, or what have you. You have a single radial grid that once there's a power swing in a particular part of the country, it will push the load. Then everybody will start dropping load. The TCN has been able to control and manage great system reliability and stability because they use frequency relays to once there's a distortion. He has not even spoken about vegetation control. For example, now, if you are coming from Asaba, Ebu Ila, that is in Delta State, you are coming from Asaba to Ebu Ila, going to Biaja and what have you, you see that there are vegetation like rubber plantation under the grid. They struggle with the grid and sometimes they cut the grid. They are very invasive. Now, when last did we invest so much on vegetation control? It costs a lot of money, but are we doing that? No. Then he has talked about lack of equilibrium of generation, transmission, and distribution. We have never exceeded 5,800 megawatts. If we attempt to exceed that, alone the grid will collapse. One, we need to invest on, instead of the radial monolithic this thing, we need to make the what you call maybe double line cycle, triple line cycle. We need to have alternative so that once there is a challenge on a particular one, you can swing. Look at what happened.
Okay, go ahead.
I think we are getting. Now that you've talked about, you mentioned metering along the way, in addition to, because if you want to believe that if government is unable to fund power on its own, you open up to investors to come in under certain terms, which will be agreed, and you get power to the homes of people. And who benefits from not having meters? Why are we running on estimated billing in many parts and having meters in fewer parts? Who benefits from this, for instance?
Yes. Okay. Let's Kunle Olubiyo, speak to that, because the issue of metering. I know we also have our local metering company somewhere in Zaria. What is being done?
The Zaria one is a relic. I know it's quite close to John Hood, Chikaji, and what is a relic of this thing. Technology has generation. I talked about 19th century generation TCN equipment being run in 21st century. If you look at the refinery that we have, Port Harcourt, Kaduna, I've lived within Kaduna refinery premises, Sokoto Road, where you have most of the MDs. If you look at the refineries we have in Port Harcourt, Kaduna, and Warri, if you are asking for $5 billion to do turnaround maintenance, it's a cash cow. It can only refine a specific type of grade of crude because it's an old technology refinery. And most of the money that the federal government, you see a situation where there will be judgment debt against federal government, and you put a voucher. Those within the system will syndicate and say, look, this one now, okay, you have judgment against federal government. Okay, put our own, get it loaded. The Nigerian mindset has to change. The Dangote refinery is the 21st century technology that can refine any type of grade of crude. So, and it can be monitored. A modern grid is automated. He's talking about system planning, system coordination. We are not saying TCN is not doing enough. For example, if there is a fault at the downstream of the discos, I have sympathized with the staff of the disco. Nigerian engineers are magicians. You see them like Babalawo looking into the bush. They are saying they are doing line tracing, fault tracing. Do you do that when you have technology like fault locators? Technology that will help you monitor the system? Now, why I talk about radial system, loose system, ring system, I sympathize with the engineer there and the other gentleman here because they are representing institution of government. And they must be seen to be here to speak, to project and protect the institution of government. If we have a tower, there are GPS. I've been to Moma's office in Lagos. We are from Lagos. You can monitor the highway. If somebody beat the traffic light, you link their BVN to it. These are technology. You don't need to chase them. In the US, if you beat traffic light, they come and give you your token and you go and pay. So what we are saying is that if we have a transmission infrastructure, there's a challenge of tower. Somebody is even coming to come and attack a tower. You are not monitoring it. You want to do like Babalawo, you expect. You don't use manual this and there are technology and there are equipment. Now, if you have a challenge in Bauchi, for example, how do we isolate that particular area that it don't affect the whole grid? Now, if they are supposed to be like a fire incident like happens somewhere in Nigeria, as a Kanji or what have you, there are fire sensor alarms. There are different layers of system protective devices.
So ultimately, what you're saying is that
they are defective.
Needs to be automated. They need to be technology compliant.
They need to be upgraded. I know engineer AJ and engineer Kabi as individuals, they are upgraded. They are not Japa here, but the system needs to be upgraded.
Yes, but let me also bring in here.
You talk about metering.
Because the new Electricity Act, has empowered state governments to generate their own, Will that in any way help to defray this instability, in the, I don't know. Yes.
Yeah,
Is that a possible solution?
Well,
yes.
Just a quick
Yes,
one.
yes.
We need not to misconstrue the role of the state government. There have been attempts in the past by state government to partner with investors to generate, transmit, and distribute.
Precisely.
The existing grid now is going to be managed by the federal structure and NEC. State now, in advancing energy mix, the investment by state is not going to be on the grid. So that cluster or sector-specific generation, states will now have the capacity to create enabling environment, give licensing, have their own local regulatory agencies or commission or what have you, so that there's a place in Kosovo, they got facility from UBA and some banks. They could not operate using dependent power, this renewable energy. They could not operate because the distribution company there, Kosovo is a border town, is quite viable. Ibadan Disco, I've been talking to the management. They could not give them permission to go ahead. They are not even the conductors were there before privatization. It was not linked to the grid. Let us use this conductor. But this landlord rent-seeking mentality and say this is our thing, they refuse to allow them. So now they don't need to go to bureaucracy of federal government. Yeah. They go to state government. If you have your money, you can generate, you can distribute, you can transmit within the state, not to the grid, so that we have alternative. Because if you have a market that does not provide alternative to consumer, the discourse, like you have said, metering and what have you, why they will not meter is that they know that estimated billing is a cash cow. So it's an institutionalization of inefficiency.
It's a question of cash cow to who?
To them, to the discourse.
We just have Engineer Edmond Eje. We also thank you for coming, TCN. We thank you, Kabir Mohammed, Adamu Mohammed.
Kabiru Mohammed Adamu.
Adamu, for coming on Good Morning Nigeria. Thank you. And Kunle Olubiyo, who is of the Consumer Protection Network president. We thank you very much for your thoughts on Good Morning Nigeria. Yeah. Let's take some sports.